all for being here. Thank you to the heavens for cooperating with us and giving us this beautiful fall day.
បាទសូមជម្រាបសួរក៏ដូចសូមស្វាគមន៍អស់លោកស្រីនិងបងប្អូនយើងទាំងអស់ដែលបានវិលត្រឡប់មកតាមដានកំសាន្តជាមួយកម្មវិធីទូរទស្សន៍ជីវិតថ្មីនៅក្នុងរាត្រីនេះ
We got Rob from Thorn on the line. Johnny, you're going to take this over because we know what he likes to talk about. And you know what? I can't even say anything bad about the Bruins right now because they're actually playing pretty well.
They really are.
All right, so Johnny, what do you think?
And again, we run into this dilemma, right, where the city in the other urban renewals we've talked about claims this is a blighted area, this is this, that's that. It's also where people live. It's also where people worship. It's also where people go to school. It's also where people do their grocery shopping.
Exactly.
The neighborhood had 2 Yiddish newspapers.
Wow.
And there was a whole, it was a vibrant place.
And to have been built all that time, it had to have been very bustling.
Yep, 1880 to roughly 1970. And so it very much is like the other immigrant neighborhoods that we've talked about.
Yeah, you're the girl of my dreams. Yeah, you're my beautiful queen. Yeah, you stay on my mind through the day. Tú eres la niña de mis sueños. Ven aquí, mami, dame beso. Stay on my mind through the day. Stay on my mind through the day.
Phil competed in the Baltimore Kinetic Sculpture race in May, so he is a veteran. Yes, he's got this. Great job, Phil.
From Lawrence, Massachusetts, Neptune's Whip. Here they come, Neptune's whipping into the thing. Look how fast they come. Oh my goodness. Oh yes. Oh, the trailer became discombobulated.
This week on LTC News, a pipeline explosion of voices.
What do we want? Now, please! What do we want?
Saddling up in the summer.
The great opportunity about camp is that you get to ride every day as opposed to once a week.
And Mill City Grows is growing.
Oh, and peppers. I got peppers over there too. That's how I make my sofrito.
Stay with us. Welcome to LTC News. I'm your news anchor, Alana Flood. Climate activists staged a loud protest at City Hall on May 15th that shut down the City Council's Environment and Flood Issues Subcommittee meeting. Led by Councillor Karen Cirillo, the committee had invited the energy company National Grid to attend in order to explain its proposal to enlarge a gas pipeline through Lowell. But the protesters would not let the National Grid representatives speak.
So National Grid, we only have an hour. Get to your presentation. Thank you. My last here. Oh, wait.
What do we want? You to lead. When do we want it? Now, please. What do you want? You to lead. When do we want it? Now, please. What do we want? You to lead. When do we want it? Now, please. What do we want? You to lead.
What happened was a disruption. It was inappropriate. And I am very frustrated with what happened this evening, and that's why I called the meeting to adjourn.
នៅពេលខាងមុខទៀតនេះអ្វីដែលជាចំហដើមយ៉ាងម៉េចគឺខ្ញុំនឹងបញ្ចេញនៅទស្សនៈចំហដើមរបស់ខ្ញុំដោយពីមុនអញ្ចឹងបាទអរគុណ អរគុណច្រើនលោកសុផលមានអីត្រូវប្រាប់ផ្ញើមួយនាទីបាទសូមជឿបាទអរគុណបាទជាពិសេសសូមអរគុណដល់កម្មវិធីសម្លេងផ្សាយរបស់មនោចេតនាខ្មែរដែលតែងតែបម្រើសហគមន៍បាទ
Lay by my side, I never said, how can I make you mine? How can I make you mine?
And then we have immigrants, people who move here for opportunities. Like I came here. I came through a diversity visa program, so I'm considered one of the immigrants. So there are people who come not because of conflict, but because of that interest to pursue their dream, the American dream.
Right.
And
The land of opportunity.
The land of opportunities, yes.
You're running a short section of the Concord River in downtown Lowell. It goes right through the center of the city, which is pretty unique. It's an amazing river. It changes levels throughout the spring, which is wonderful. We work with Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust to get this river, to get this rafting trip out, which is kind of fun. It's a unique way to see Lowell. It's a great section of whitewater. It's fun to be on the raft or fun to be in the river, as you know.
We have a whole new generation of young people that weren't alive or active or using drugs in the 80s and 90s when HIV and hepatitis prevention and outreach was happening everywhere. And everyone knew how you could contract them and how you could stay safer. And then it seemed like communities got a handle on that and so moved on to other issues that needed prevention, education, and outreach. But I feel like we have this whole new generation that is HIV, hepatitis unaware. Are you seeing that too, at Lowell House?
I think specifically in regards to HIV, HIV isn't one of those things that people really like to talk about.
As far as I know, I shall never be in jail again. The rest is not my fault. Yeah, we wish.
Yeah. You didn't know that bit. We passed a little kid who was throwing stones at the cars in the road.
One day he'll put a stone through a man's windshield and the man will crash and die. All on account of that little kid.
Many people think of Western Avenue Studios as a place where established artists can create, sell, and display their work. But it's also home to a small community of developing artists. Here at Refuge Lowell, students of art can get intensive instruction and mentorship and help develop their portfolios for the college admission process.
The mission of Refuge Lowell is to provide a safe space for students to come, kids who love art, to come here and create work that is their strongest, to develop their self-confidence, to develop their skills.
My culture is Dominican, right? That's what I say. Like, my culture is Dominican. I eat rice and beans, although I stopped eating meat recently, but I eat rice and meat, right? Beans. I identify as a black man, but when asked about black struggle, sometimes get confused if they're meaning my heritage as slavery, so my ancestry, were they slave, and do I come from a lineage of plantation worker in the South? I know, because that's not what I know.
Right.
That's not the knowledge that was passed on from my heritage generations and stuff. But what I do know is that my skin color is black.
Right.
And to the eyes of folks outside of me, I am a black man. So I have to be a black man.
Middlesex Community College, with over 70 degree and certificate programs, joins us once again this year with its festive float, celebrating all of the nations whose students study at the college campuses in downtown Lowell, in Bedford, or online. This year, President James Mabry, Patrick Cook, and student leaders are joined by more than 24 members of the college's theater department, giving us a preview of the roles they'll be playing starting next Saturday in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Lowell has a great new addition to its programs for kids. In 2017, they converted a daycare center space into a maker space where they do robotics, fashion design, graphic design, and art.
this space right here, which is a robotic STEM room. And so the teens are going to be able to do a lot of different STEM programming here. Also, Lego robotics will be held here. And so the idea is to expose them to more technology programming.
I decided to join robotics because I've always had a love for doing things with technology, and also I've always loved to build things and make things with my hands.
Be in the front line. Take the leadership. And when I talk about leadership, take the leadership in everywhere. Everywhere. Political parties, economic side, media, universities. So I'm making some revolution here. So take the leadership. If you want change, you have to lead the change.
That this year, 2018, has been designated by the African Union as the year of the fight against corruption as a condition precedent to transforming the continent. Only, I think the conference only ended yesterday, the 30th summit of the African heads of states and government in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And they are saying, let us fight corruption, because it is only when we fight corruption and fight it effectively that the Agenda 2063, which is the agenda that is designed to transform Africa economically, politically, and socially, will be realized, and that Africa will then realize our potential.
What we have is an Egyptian street food called kosheri, and what it is, it's a layered dish, white rice, brown lentils, a little bit of pasta, chickpeas, fried onions, and then we top it with a variety of sauces. So depending on your spice level, we have tomato sauces, mild, medium spicy, and extra spicy, and we also have raw garlic sauce for those who don't like peppers.
Street food in general in any culture is people food, and it's food that always has history. So the really fun part about Egyptian street food is that it's a mix of so many different things.
This is how I make my living. So I do this full time between teaching classes and selling my glass. That's how I create a living. And this sort of splits up your spirals. So he's going to do little snips, snip, a little waxy. Yeah, they are. So not only do those cuts split the color up, but it also is going to trap bubbles. See, these ones are cutting a little more. Do you see that? And let's say he wants some extra large bubbles, he can poke a little bit more, something like that.
If we look at it, one will see that the problem is not the fear of a new country, of a new state. The problem is the continuity of a failed experiment of democracy and the continuity of tyranny. That is where fear should actually be.
Yes. And what is the role of people in the diaspora to move the resistance forward?
Well, I think the people in the diaspora have done wonderful. But my heart goes out to the people on ground zero. They are paying the ultimate price with blood, sweat, tears, without even any oxygen. Whatever happens in the diaspora, we are standing just on the shoulders of those who are at ground zero, and I cannot acknowledge that enough.
Whatever your background, you are welcome here in the city of Lowell. Today, for the first time, Lowell officially marks the beginning of LGBT Pride Month with the raising of the rainbow flag at Lowell City Hall.
The next day was also the first time Lowell hosted a gay pride parade. It was sponsored by the Greater Lowell Health Alliance and the city. The parade moved down Merrimack Street to a party at JFK Plaza.
We work on a community health needs assessment every 3 years, and in this needs assessment it identified the LGBTQ community as having health disparities. A lot of them seek care and health care all the way in Boston. So this Pride 3 years ago was a way, we started as a way of bringing health resources to the LGBTQ community. And it's just really exploded to this point. So we're really proud.
Well, look, this is, I think, my 25th Pride, and it's still, we see today that it's just still more as important as it always has been, that with LGBTQ rights being rolled back, and not only in the United States, but in state after state, and also on the federal level, and then we're seeing it happen internationally. So for events like this, for my husband Stephen and I to come out and just be together with the community in Lowell and celebrate and talk about the fact that this fight is not over, and also enjoy it along the way. It's just so critically important.
So we want to get a little bit more local with some of these questions. We started with some more general areas, and I'd like to ask you a question that we've asked a number of folks who've been on this show. It was kind of epitomized by the recent high school debate where a number of observers felt that there were kind of two Lowells. And people have talked about it in other contexts, two Lowells in terms of ethnicity, two Lowells in terms of socioeconomic classes, two Lowells in terms of separated by the river, you know, that kind of thing. You guys are all astute observers of the local scene. What do you think about that? Is that a bunch of malarkey, or is there any truth to it?
I think there's about 115,000 Lowells. Even in an issue as divisive as the high school, yeah, there were two sides, but a lot of people went into those two sides based on their own concerns.
Our media designer is mapping, so we can put an image on the front of the desk.
We've come to expect fresh and exciting stage design and sets from MRT Productions, and this show is no exception.
There are several segments of the play that take place in Guy's imagination and in these dreams. And so what we're doing here is we're constructing a world where video projection can be cast onto our set.
But when you're up there,
Does it want to feel like a memory, and how do you make a video projection look like a memory?
taking the sheen off is the right thing to do.
So it's a little bit of thinking like the director of a film every once in a while in the middle of building a theatrical experience. And what makes it uniquely theatrical is that we have no idea that we're going to be transported in the ways that we are. So every time the video projection comes on, what we want it to do is to surprise all of us.
Theater is all about telling stories, and Kinyum's principals all agree that it was time to tell this one, particularly under the current Trump administration.
And I woke up the morning after the election, and it really felt like it was clear to me that telling stories of people that don't look like us is the most important thing that any of us could be doing at this moment.
There are not a lot of Asian American stories. There's certainly not a lot of Cambodian American stories out there. I felt like it was my responsibility as an artist to take on that and to really write for my people.
Lowell Telecommunications Corporation.
Lowell, Massachusetts.